year in Phase 4 will start on September 8th as a 3-week introduction, after which students will begin everyday attendance on Monday through Friday on September 28th. The Woodhaven-Brownstown School District Return to School Plan also offers the families of our district the option to start the school year in a remote learning environment in classes taught by Woodhaven-Brownstown School District teachers. Feature of this plan, aside from being fully taught by Woodhaven-Brownstown School District teachers, is the opportunity to consider blended learning opportunities in which students and parents may choose to have their child attend in person for select courses while taking the majority of their courses at home. These learning options were not easy to arrive at, nor did we make any claim that they were perfect. There is no perfect plan. Our intent was to provide safe options and to provide flexibility, and I believe that we were able to do that. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve the Woodhaven-Brownstown School District 2020-21 Return to School Plan as recommended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Harris, supported by Paget. Is there any discussion?
You see virus rate in the district that we serve.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question, Mr. Burke?
Yes. In our district, what is the virus rate? Is it 5% or lower?
The only number that is, and I assume you're referring to a positive test rate?
Yes.
Okay. The numbers that are widely available are those for the state of Michigan. Even getting data that looks at the county is difficult to get. What I do know for the state of Michigan is that prior to yesterday's numbers, the positive test rate for the state of Michigan was 3.3%. And I also have read that despite the over 1,200 positive cases that were reported yesterday, I also know that there was 11,000 more tests administered yesterday above the previous 7-day average. So while there was an increase of 1,200 cases yesterday, the positive test rate for the state of Michigan dropped from 3.3% to 3.1%. Mr. Burke, in terms of your question, though, specifically for our school district, I think we'd be fortunate to get that information for the county. Our school district, we could get, I would hope we would be able to get the city of Woodhaven and Brownstown Township, but not all of Brownstown Township is our school district, nor is all of the city of Woodhaven. Plus, we carry small portions of other school districts. The bottom line is that information, despite our best efforts to try to find them, just is not widely available as the testing rates for the state of Michigan are. Any other thoughts by board members? Hearing none, Mrs. Abear, would you please take a roll call vote?
Mrs. Pimer,
Yes.
Mrs. Burton Kelsey,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mrs. Paget,
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Abstain.
I think he needs to vote no.
My understanding, Mr. Burke, is that we would need you to cast a yes or no vote. I certainly don't mean to put you on the spot like that, but out of all due respect, could I get you to cast a yes or no vote?
Well, first of all, I don't like the face-to-face contact. Secondly, I don't like visual learning, but until I can be sure that we get a testing program in, I'll have to vote no. Unless I can be assured we're going to get a testing program for the students in our district, students, staff, and workers.
Okay. We will record that as a no vote. Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Mrs. Bauer Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Berry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That motion carries. The next steps we will take is to update the information that we have posted on the website as now. We'll take off the pending approval information. We, as soon as we're done, I've asked James and Mrs. Abear there to make the parent preference available through our website, but I'll also have our building administration immediately distribute that link to all of our parents. Mr. Roberts is prepared to distribute the teacher and staff preference form to them as well. The plan itself will be submitted to Wayne Risa. It's my understanding that it's Wayne Risa's responsibility then to submit to Treasury and the state superintendent. But we're also prepared to immediately get that posted on our website as well, the template summary. Thank you very much. Item number 2 on the agenda is approval of a contract amendment for ABM Industries. We are asking the board this morning for an approval of an amendment to our contract with ABM Industries with the sole purpose of implementing our enhanced cleaning program. In summary, the new plan will add 16 additional custodians in the district. It will enable us to disinfect high-touch areas 3 to 5 times during the school day. This exceeds the required once every 4 hours called for in the roadmap. And it will also allow us to electrostatically disinfect all schools on a nightly basis. The cost of the contract amendment is not to exceed $70,288.60 per month and may be canceled at any time with a 30-day notice. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve the contract amendment for ABM Industries as recommended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Harris, supported by Burton Kelsey. Is there any discussion?
Just that this was brought up in our subcommittee meeting and approved.
Thank you. I forgot to mention that. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mrs. Abear, would you please take a roll call vote?
Mrs. Pimer,
Yes.
Mrs. Burton Kelsey,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mrs. Paget,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Berry. Mrs. Berry? She might be muted.
There she is.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That motion carries. Item number 3 is approval of contract extension for Trinity Transportation. The Board of Education is asked to approve. This also was reviewed by the Facilities and Operations Committee. The Board of Education is asked to approve a 1-year contract extension with Trinity Transportation. The contract expired on June 30th, 2020, and the district has been working with Trinity Transportation since before then, on an extension. The contract will maintain similar terms with some modifications as to the billable day percentages in the contract. The contract pricing is based on 180 days of service. If we fall below 180 days, we will still need to pay for fixed costs in the contract. Fixed costs will be prorated on a percentage basis, depending on the length of any shutdown and how, as a district, we choose to respond to such. For example, layoffs and/or keeping employees working, as we did similar to when we implemented our meal distribution program. The estimated cost of this extension is $2,217,934.36 with a one-time fee of $155,052.80 for startup costs for this school year. This contract will be paid out of the general fund with some reimbursements from our for special education services. And I do understand, and Mr. Belcher, there was a question by a board member. Mr. Belcher could speak a little bit more to this, but there was approximately $900,000 in savings realized through the shutdown and the discontinuation of transportation services last spring. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve the contract extension for Trinity Transportation as recommended. Is there a motion? Motion by Burton Kelsey, supported by Paget. Any discussion?
I don't need it right this
How are they going to send?
I'm sorry, Mr. Burke, could you repeat that?
Well, let the other person speak first.
Okay, Mrs. Paget.
the 155,000 one-time fee, do we know what that's for? If you don't have it handy, just let me know later, that's fine.
Mr. Belcher, are you prepared to speak to what the $155,000 is for? Or is that something you would like to get back to? Not a co-host. He's raised his hand. Thank you, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everybody. The 155,000 is due to the way that the contract works is the money that they make throughout the year carries them through the summer and to keep all of their staff on board. So that 155,000 will be for training of the staff that normally would be absorbed by revenue that was generated in the past. So you'd have training of staff, the mechanics that are back on board, salaries for your management, and any other fixed costs that would be associated from insurances. We have a breakdown if you would like me to send that to you, Mrs. Paget.
The cost was, they first started off at 200,000. Mike was actually able to talk him down to 155, but it's basically because they didn't make money last year.
Yeah.
They didn't make as much money as they thought they were going to make. So,
Is there any other? Mr. Burke. I'm sorry.
Yes. What is the maximum students per bus load? And how are they going to sanitize after students leave the bus?
The maximum bus load.
I mean,
Mike, is it 50?
Yeah, I could speak to that, Mr. Burke, if you'd like, or Mr. Greathead. So the maximum, the buses that we have are 77 passenger buses. It differs per grade level and per basically route, but I would say on average it would be around 50 to 55 students would be your average. There are no social distancing requirements. All of the students are required, Mr. Burke, to, when they board the bus, hand sanitize, wear masks. If they show up without a mask, there will be one provided for them. And at the end of every, what we would call tier, which would be when the children get off at a school, the bus driver will disinfect all of the seats throughout the bus and then move on to the next tier. Those are requirements in the roadmap. I'm sorry, did you say something else, Mr. Burke?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't hear how many students were going to be allowed on a bus at a time.
Sure. I would say there isn't a restriction of, if you wanted to go by a pure restriction, it would be the capacity of the bus. I would say that the average of the bus is 50 to 55.
So there's going to be enough distancing on a bus for 55 kids, 50
Correct.
kids?
There is no social distancing on the school bus. There is going to be some encouragement of, we assume that the buses are going to run lighter this year with the option of a either an in-person or a remote learning opportunity. So that's going to be closely monitored. But as far as a hard restriction on capacity, we do not have one of those due to the non-requirement of a social distancing in the roadmap.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion by the board? Hearing none, Mrs. Abear, would you please take a roll call vote?
Mrs. Weimer,
Yes.
Mrs. Burton Kelsey,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
no.
Mrs. Paget,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Reluctant, yes.
Mrs. Bauer Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries. Next item is reports, superintendent's report. I think I shared, I already shared pretty much what we're going to do operationally now. that the plan has been approved. That will begin immediately at the conclusion of the board meeting. I would just like to thank the Board of Education, the community, our parents, and our staff for their patience and understanding during this time. For everyone that expressed their concerns, their fears, and/or many shared their willingness and eagerness to return to the classroom, and did so in a respectful manner. Thank you. Please know that your perspectives, they did weigh heavily on all of us during this process. I thank you very much. Item number 5 is hearing of the public. If you'd like to address the board on something that did not appear on this evening's agenda, now would be the time. Again, the comment time is limited to 5 minutes per person. Again, this is for items that did not appear on this evening's agenda. Seeing none, reports of officers and trustees. Okay, thank you. I will adjourn the meeting at 9:20 a.m. The next date and time of our next meeting for the Board of Education, this is our regularly scheduled board meeting for August, is Tuesday, August 18th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.